Hi, good evening. Welcome to the 10th episode of Country Liquor to Classy Champagne. Today, I have two very important, I love both of them. Uh, I have Neeraj Tyagi. He is managing partner of Venture Catalyst and now a founder of We Founder Circle.
Yeah.
Uh, Venture Catalyst, Neeraj Tyagi, and We Founder Circle, they are known for angel investments in this country. They are making right noises for last 5 years. Welcome, Neeraj.
No, thank you so much, Ankur, for having me. I mean, this is like one show I'm very, very excited to be on. And it's a lot of like excitement in other ways also because I have no anticipation that what is coming my way in this show. So yeah, so great,
Yeah,
great.
that's what entrepreneurship is all about, Neeraj.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Imagine.
And we have, as the name suggests, the show says country liquor, and we have an analogy, and we have Rishabh Pote, a 18-year-old engineering student of KJ Somaya. He runs his cloud tech company known as Moshak. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I'm sure by the end of this 45 minutes, most of you will agree why I'm saying this. Welcome, Rishi.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you for having me. I think this is going to be a great experience for me as well to learn more about what Neeraj has to say and talk about my experience. And you're being a bit too nice by saying
No,
those things,
no,
but
no, no, no. I
thank
know,
you.
I normally say this, but had I been 1% smart as you are when I
Oh,
was 18 years old, I'm 100% sure I would have been doing extremely well in my life. Uh,
thank you, Ankur.
so,
That
Neeraj,
means a lot.
let me start with this. You are known in this angel investment space. Uh, how are you liking it? How are you finding it? Like, uh, now this is your full-time job. So what excites you?
See, I can relate it to my creative field because I've been running my own media content company for almost like 20 years now.
Okay.
And as they say in the films that actors have a great privilege to to live so many lives every day. So I think angel investment is almost, I think it's the equivalent for an entrepreneur. Okay, so if somebody really loves working on new ideas, okay, and like setting up companies and like um, giving everything actually to an idea, okay, whether it becomes a very successful company or not, that doesn't matter, but if you really like this, then you really like the journey part most, okay. And from that standpoint, I think angel investment is in a way is giving people like me a chance to relive our kind of like excitement, okay. Every day you're meeting so many young people who are like passionately trying to build basically something very unique, and so much of innovation is happening. So I think to me, I see myself like really privileged to work with founders and be a small part in their journey. And I think that's a very big takeaway also, as in like a personal satisfaction. So in a sense, basically, so this is one thing. And the second thing that I can definitely relate to is on a satisfaction level and on the takeaway level. See, my father is a teacher, okay. So I've seen him being part and influence actually of so many successful stories in his life, okay. And one thing that we have seen, basically me and my brother, right from the very early age, that wherever we used to go, new cities, new colonies, new towns, family circles, uh, see somebody from the crowd actually just come up and say, sir, aapke sath padha tha, and they touch the feet and all of that, and that experience is basically always remains, okay, to me. And I feel in a in a sense, basically, although it is not teaching at all, but the feeling is the same when you are just like working with someone, okay, and trying to help them, and you see them, I mean, being successful at some point of time. I think this the excitement I now can relate to, that what my father was always uh, like, he was always valuing that part most. Okay, so that's how it is for me. I mean, it sounds very uh, different, but I mean, that say angel investment for me, money making, yes, definitely, it's one of the like great way to to have a multiplier effect of your wealth. But I think more than that, this is basically my person. So this is what is my personal takeaway.
No, I 100% agree with you. You can make money by doing multiple other things. In fact, by starting up on your own and
Correct.
by investing in stocks. But the angel investment gives you a chance to relive multiple lives at the same time. I think well
Yeah.
put. On this, I just want to ask you. But we still find that India still does not have that culture of having so many angel investors as compared to what we see in the US. Why do you think that?
Okay, so I think the fundamental difference is basically there is no structured effort to kind of like one build awareness around this, and secondly, I think this asset class is still been projected like a very risky asset class. But I think if we project it rightly, okay, and if the education about startups and investing, if this thing basically can start right from the school, okay, I mean that's where, because whatever it has done till now, that's fine, okay. But I think the next 10 years is something that we can build. So the people like who are right now in say in class 6th or say 10th or 9th, 10th, 11th, basically those guys, if they are given some level of some sense of what entrepreneurship is and what is a startup and setting up a company and why and how investors can basically partner with them. So I think this education part is something basically which I feel is the key. It's like a knowledge. I still feel this is a knowledge industry, okay, rather than anything else. It's not a wealth is obviously is outcome of this, but it's more of a knowledge industry if we can project it well. And that is what we have seen at venture capitalists also. We have deliberately gone to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, okay, not basically trying to attract the same set of like okay, those metro city CXOs and family office guys, okay. So we have never gone basically behind that lot of angel investors. We have gone to cities like Ranchi was the first basically outside Mumbai. The second office that we launched was in Ranchi. So imagine basically from the Chhattisgarh and like reaching out to local entrepreneurs and local business community. I think if you educate them well and if you tell them that whatever you are doing right now, whatever business you are doing, there is a high possibility of actually a technology way doing the same thing in a better way. Okay, there is a better efficiency that you can bring into your current business, and you can make more money and you can cut down cost, and there are better solutions. Once you present a startup opportunity to them, like uh, increasing their say or upgrading their business basically to the next level, I think then the whole proposition becomes very different, okay, because then they can immediately relate to it, because business they know better than you. You just basically you have to talk about the possibilities. And I think it's just a matter of education. If we can do this education right from the schools to bring the SME sector into the mainstream of angel investments, I think things can really change fast. We have seen that now there are like 5,000 investors, and out of them 70% are from smaller cities. That the investor community we have. And last year from venture capitalists we done 104 investments
In a year?
in a year. We ranked at number 3. So Y Combinator was number 1 last year.
Wow.
Second was TechCrunch. Third was Venture Catalyst.
Oh, wow.
So that many deals we are able to do, and I still feel this is not even like 0.001%, because India money is not a problem.
Yeah.
But we need to educate people well so that they can start putting that.
No, I 100% agree, and I think we really need to talk beyond this show, because two things which you said, really hits a chord with us. We, as you know, that we at Hostel Fund primarily believe that students should consider entrepreneurship as their career choice.
Sure.
कुछ नहीं हुआ तो जाके नौकरी कर लो यार. Let's start that. Let's have that mindset, because most of us, when we reach at our age, which is late 30s, early 40s, at that time we decide, yeah, let's start something. By that time it's too late.
Yeah,
that culture has. So we are working with various colleges to start this program. And what I say, you get into engineering college, get out with engineering degree. You get into MBA college, get out as MBA degree. Why don't we have something that you get into a college and get out with a startup in your hand?
Exactly, that how it has to be.
Yes. That we need more. Now the time has come that we should start producing entrepreneurs rather than the managers from the institutes.
So,
So
high time, high
on
time.
that note,
I can tell you this change will start from school, not from IIM.
I agree.
Right.
There are better chance of actually a 12th class or probably say a first year, second year student making a startup rather than an IIM, because
Yeah,
it's like,
we have evaluated 600 student pitch decks, and I tell you, none of them are from the top MBA institutes, which have even gone to a level where we said, okay, I don't know, maybe the mindset has changed, or they're just bothered about paying their 30, 40 lakh rupees fees. It's a different mindset. But on that point, you said, so we have Rishabh. So
Yes.
I think you fits into that category which Neeraj is talking about. From the school, you are in your first year, you finished your 12th. When did this Kila of entrepreneurship start?
Oh, okay.
Tell me something about our viewers about your story. Why you
Okay,
are
no, I would say, right. At your point, I think Neeraj just mentioned it starts from sixth, seventh, eighth. And that's when it first hit me, right? That's when, the first step I would say I took towards, let's say, entrepreneurship, not necessarily entrepreneurship, but doing something on my own, doing something that is different. I always wanted to do something that is different. I always had that in my mind. Kuch to alag karna. I don't want to be like another plus one. I just want to do something different. So in the eighth grade is when I first started building robots. And I was, I was building Arduino-based robots from the sixth, seventh grade. But in the eighth grade is when I went ahead and I did my first competition at IIT Bombay. I was the youngest there by a long shot. All my competitors were like second year, third year students, the youngest after me. And I built my first bot, of course, with the help of my uncle, my parents. I was able to get that going. And then from there, I don't know, I don't remember half of it. It's like a flash. It went eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade. In the 11th grade, I did a show on combat robotics on the same thing. That was backed by Red Bull India, by Hyperpower. I did a talk show on this, and that's when the first, let's say, entrepreneurship bug hit me. I started managing from the technical aspect, right? I was building combat robots and fighting with robots in the arena. And I was a very technical, engineering, mechanical, electrical sort of a guy. And then I shifted directly to managing and producing the show, getting the sponsors, arranging for everything, talking to Pepperfry was our location partner. So convincing them, pitching to them, telling them, getting the financials done. So that's when it first, the commercial end first hit me. And then I was like, okay, I like this. And this is something that I want to do. So throughout the 12th grade, I tried doing various things. I tried, just switching. Let's try automobiles. So I tried doing automobiles for a while, performance automobiles. I worked on Porsches, Lamborghinis, Ferraris. And tried doing something there. I enjoyed that as well. But then what happened is I started working on Moshak towards the end of 12th grade. And
when you say 12th grade, 11th grade, I will believe this is just 1 year ago and 1.5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a long time ago, if I'm being very honest. It seems so naive now, what I was doing then. But it's what got me here. A long way to go still long way to go ahead. But it was a year ago. Yes, it was a year ago. And that's when I first started working on Moshak, started putting together something. I was working on a computer mouse with an inbuilt SSD and cloud connectivity. So that was the first product I was working on with the previous partner. And that didn't really work out. And then we had another co-founder, and then I was trying to continuously work on this. What I realized very quickly doing the right market research is that there isn't a market for computer mice anymore. There is a market definitely for cloud, however, and not necessarily in the B2C space, which is when I was taken in by Athom Venture Partners, which is one of our accelerator program that we're a part of. And Pankaj Gupta, the founder, he's very much like Ankur, right? I would say they're from two peas from the same pot, very supportive, very, very supportive from all perspectives, critical when the time comes, right? Where they tell you that, okay, cut the bullshit. get things done, right? That's what you need. You don't need just support, but you need somebody to tell you to get to the point. But that's when we pivoted from a hardware company to more of a software company, and kept the cloud aspect of everything. And then we kept the name also. But Moshak originally was Sanskrit for mouse, and now it is movers and shakers of the cloud industry, is what we call ourselves. So we went into a multi-cloud management platform is what we were building earlier. And I was building that alone again for the last, let's say, 3 months. I was building it alone, just plugging away, figuring out what to do. And then we had a first pitch at Athom. On the first pitch, I was able to onboard. So before this, actually, this is just one story I wanted to put in. Is I had one really bad pitch. I had one bad pitch where the tech, it was with a computer mouse. It was the mouse product. The tech didn't work. I had put it out to around a lot of networks, also Angel networks. So I had a bunch of angels on the call. I had about, I think, 20 odd people on the call just for Moshak, right? The tech didn't work. I was stuttering. I was fumbling everywhere. I didn't know what to present. I didn't know what to say, but I learned a lot from that. The second presentation I did with Moshak, which was the multi-cloud management platform, I was able to onboard mentors. So this was a mentor call. I was able to onboard mentors who was an ex-VP of Oracle, ex-VP at Accenture, ex-senior director at PayPal, he was ex-IBM worldwide executive. And these guys are our mentors now, and they're also investors now. So they have skin in the game at this point. They've invested in the company. We spend hours a week together building Moshak right now. But then again, from the multi-cloud management platform, we did some more research. The space is very competitive. We don't want to be another plus one, which is why we pivoted to what we're building now. We looked at the complexity of cloud, and we said, hey, the cloud is so complex. We need somebody to solve the complexity for the customers, right? Which is exactly where we come in. What we're building now is essentially a product or a tool that helps customers with their cloud journey, simplifying that and optimizing their cloud journey from choosing the right cloud service on a multi-hybrid cloud level. Again, multi-cloud is something that is coming from behind us, and it's coming ahead. It's coming on fast on a multi-hybrid cloud level. And then optimizing cost on the infrastructure that we recommend, building everything at the same place, giving the right recommendations, cloud resource recommendations for our customers to scale their business on cloud. So we're not only saving them cost directly because they don't have to hire so many resources, or we're optimizing their infrastructure costs, but we're also helping them scale their business by giving them the right recommendations. We're partnering with security tools to give them automated security scans of the infrastructure and application, and then also compliance and security reports. So that's what we're building now. There's a long process. There's a long way for me and Moshak to go ahead. But
I am double your age, more than double your age, and I'm not sure whether I have that much content to talk about, Neeraj. Wow.
No, I was expecting the same. Okay, so it's all like bouncers for us. Huh? Yeah, but yeah.
So I have my question on this for you, Neeraj. At the age of 18, he has made mistakes. He has pivoted multiple times. He has changed his company model. Is this the best way to learn, or is there something else?
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way. Actually, it's learning by doing. Okay, I think that's the best way. Okay, and it's like while they are building actually this company, the learning is happening basically by default. Okay, so they do not have to like put effort to go to a college, read a book, okay, attend sessions and all of that. So I think all that is not required. The moment basically they start into this and see the kind of so the interesting point to highlight here is that we all want to see people like Rishabh grow. Okay, so there is no scarcity of people or money to back up these guys. Okay, so once they take a first step, and I think their parents are, I think, equally, we need to kind of address and acknowledge that the kind of I think motivation or support which is coming from those guys. I think once the parents start taking this seriously, okay, and they allow your own kids, okay, to take these steps, I think you can yourself judge that. And that's what I am basically continuously telling people wherever I go. I tell them being an entrepreneur is the most safest and most rewarding career, and not investing is the most risky basically thing that you can do in your life. So both these things go hand in hand. So
Yeah.
I'm saying startup in today's world, I think maybe say 10 years back it was not the right option, or because of the environment. But I think right now the environment, the culture, the kind of support which can come your way, I think it is the safest and the most rewarding career. And it's better, the sooner you can start for it, I think better it is. Otherwise, I mean, the examples are there if you want to like compare this as in like success opportunity or an outcome. The kind of people like who go to Kota, and like how many of them really like end up getting like their favorite seats in the favorite college. I think if you just compare that with entrepreneurship, I think it's equally, there's 90% failure there also. So yeah, so that's my take on it. I think better you start early, I think, because then the takers are more than enough actually, that you'll find your way, who will come and support you.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
Ankur, if I may just to add on to Neeraj's points, 2 points that I really caught on. The first one, parents, I think you're absolutely right. I owe quite a bit to my parents, my mom, my dad. Yeah, but I also want to say that I don't think parents should be supportive from the very beginning, which is what my parents were. Right? They were very skeptical. They were very critical, and I mean this with all good sense, on complete good sense. They should be that way because that prepares you for the real world, right? That's what the real world is going to be. Nobody's going to be like, oh, okay, how sweet. Yeah, I'm going to give you 50,000 rupees, whatever, 1 lakh rupees, go build whatever you want. It's My parents didn't do that, and I'm very thankful to them for not doing that, because if they allowed me and to do whatever you want, I just wouldn't be able to be do even reach here at this point. Is what my take is on that. Obviously they did give me the liberties that were required. They did keep me on a leash, but they give me some slack to play around with, and I think that is very necessary. They should offer some sort of resistance, so that entrepreneurship is all about resistance, right? So that you learn that resistance very early on from the very beginning. I think that is important. And then the second part that you mentioned, okay, sorry, slipped my mind what I wanted to mention, but sorry, that happens with me sometimes. Yeah.
So no, we'll come back to on
Yeah.
that point, Rishabh. Neeraj, I wanted to ask, you meet so many entrepreneurs every day. What do you think? What are the mistakes which you see most of the entrepreneurs they make, which they should not be, and they should learn from, let's say, from your voice or whatever. Can you share those 2-3 points which will help these young entrepreneurs?
Okay. So I think the first thing that I want to really point out is see, sometimes what happens basically, you fall in love with the idea, okay, too much that you do not even want to test it, okay, with the customers or the potential customers or the people who are the stakeholders. Forget about only the, like for example, he is interested in robotics, okay, and he wants to create a solution. Now it's always good to first basically go to the industry peers, okay, or people who are studying, say, robotics on a much higher level, or people who are stakeholders from the point of the companies who are into this. So I think these are the guys who have a bigger stake in this, and that means basically they must have done, say, much more research about this whole as a business model, okay. So if you reach out to them before you start building a company, I think building an idea, so I think go to the stakeholders, be it customers, be it companies, peer groups, professionals, influencers, experts. And internet actually has given us a equal playing, okay, ground. It doesn't matter basically from which city you are from Cochin, or you are from Ahmedabad, or a Jalandhar, or a Bathinda. It doesn't matter. You go to internet, reach out to people, create a small video, and I can bet that even if you are just say a 10th class student, and if you really wanted to discuss basically an idea that is there in your mind and you've done some work around it, you create a small video, send it out basically to say 100 people. I think at least like 5-10 people will respond back. And that is the beginning. I think that's where you need to basically make a start. Talk to the people, because I think a lot of people make this mistake that they feel that we are doing such innovative thing that I do not need to talk to people, okay, because somebody will take my idea, or let me just build it because I feel this is good. So I think with that idea, if you are building a company, the chances are that you will end up spending your resource, your money, your time into this, okay, and you create something basically which is not required by the customer that you are going to target. So if you are creating something and then going out to the customer, I think that's a wrong approach. I think you need to go to the customer first, do your basically bit of research and go to and talk to like 100 people, and you will get a fairly good idea that whether you should first fundamentally want to build that or not. I think that itself will basically you get a clarity on that. And second is, I think you will get so much of insight from the market that I think that will fine tune your whole perception about the business model around it. So a lot of people basically don't understand. They work on the technology side. I've seen this mistake by the IITians. I mean, you go to IIT Chennai and I mean, you go to their fest, okay, and their all these like tech shows and hackathons and all of that, being a jury or a judge to their competition. And what you find out that out of the 800 application which has come out from those like 10 IITs, okay, and they have selected the best 8, and you are talking to them, and you find each one of them is presenting a great technology or a solution. But when it comes basically what is a business that you can create around it, they are ekdam, they do not have any answer to that. So they don't even know that how to scale this or how to take it to the market. Now that piece is missing. So that means, and that's a crucial thing. I mean, you're not making it for yourself. You're making something which has a commercial sense, and then you need to take it out. And that mistake, I think a lot of people make inside the campus, outside the campus, first time entrepreneurs, 90% of them, they feel, let me just create a mobile app, let me create a website, let me create basically a pricing strategy, and let me go out and immediately I will get this much number. So I think that's a wrong way. I think this is the fundamental thing that people needs to, I think building community first and customer, okay, and then the product. I mean, this is how I feel, that create a community around the business that you're trying to do. So for example, he wants to do a robotics. So first he has to reach out to the community of people like who either are into the business or who loves robotics as such. Go to them. I mean, they will give you a lot of insight. So I think the whole, this is one thing that I feel that most of the people make mistake. They create something which people don't want. That's
Got it. I think you are saying even before building a MVP, do some kind of a primary research and do and figure it out. Is there a right market out there?
Yeah, and that research doesn't have to be basically a secondary one, okay? Because a lot of people, I mean, you are part of so many businesses, okay, and you ventured and you like already like mentored and invested yourself, and you see these pitches, okay? Even the most of the professional guys, they spend too much of time actually explaining that how big is the market, okay, and what is the problem statement and things like that. And like out of the 10 minutes of their time, 5 minutes basically they're just explaining how big is this market and how big is this opportunity. And I always tell them the people like who are judging you, they must have seen 100 such pitches on the same subject. So the chances of them having a better data than you is always very high. Why you are showing that data? Tell them that you have interviewed 100 people. If you present the same use case or same basically statement, you say, see, in last 6 months, we have interviewed 100 people, 60 are engineers, 40 are customers. So these are the people we interviewed, and this is my basically gist of this entire interview. I think if you make a statement and if you open your pitch like that, I think the guys will be more than seriously interested to listen to you, because now you are sharing something that they have not done themselves also. They have not spoken to like 100 people one-to-one.
Agreed. I think that's a very valid point, and I'm sure that will be very helpful to a lot of the guys, because and trust me, you deal with early stage entrepreneurs. I deal with even, I'll say, a nano stage entrepreneur, because I'm dealing with 16-year-olds to 20-year-olds who think that they have created something so sexy, so lovely that no one ever would create. But I think you made a very good point that do a bit of research, talk to 20 people, and come out of your comfort zone. Rishabh, just on this point, I know that you have been able, for your this cloud tech company, you have been able to get so many senior executives as your investors and mentors, and they come from all different companies of the world.
Yes.
They are Indians, they are foreigners. Uh, One, how did you get them? How did you convince them? And second, how are you leveraging their expertise? Because I understand all of these guys put together have more than 400, 500
Oof.
years of experience. All these
Yeah.
guys. So share that couple of tips for other guys who can basically replicate that.
Of course, of course. I actually did exactly what Neeraj recommended, right? And I learned this from the first product that I was building. With the mouse, I did not do any kind of customer research. But with what the multi-cloud platform and what we're building after that, what I went ahead and did before making the pivot to the multi-cloud platform is I spoke to 50 customers. I put out a sample set of 50. I spoke to them, and I didn't know that these were my ICPs. I didn't know that these were my ideal customer profiles or not at that point. And to be honest, I still have to validate that. We're still on the process of validating that. But I spoke to 50 customers and I said, okay, look, this is what I'm building. Are these the problems that you're facing? What is the biggest problem that you're facing amongst these three? What is your top one? We asked them to fill. I spoke to them first, then asked them to fill out a form. Then I spoke to them again. Then after this conversation, I had some data to talk about, right? And then exactly what Neeraj said, I went ahead and I pitched it on my second pitch with individual mentors. And then that's when they said, okay, maybe you have something here. And that's how I got them. But how I got the first initial contact with them was through Athom again. So this was through a pitch that I did with Athom, as I got the initial contact with them. Most of them liked I asked them that why do you like working with me, or why would you be interested to associate with Moshak? They said that they would like the way that I pitched, they like the data, and they like the thoroughness. So that's what I think I would recommend is whatever you're pitching, I think you need to study. And the other thing that I did is before every pitch, I studied quite a bit about the person I was pitching to also. So I had a lot of data points to talk to them about their experience. And then I included that somewhere or the other in the pitch, not necessarily mentioning it outright, but I'm making sure that it was subtle. It was subtly there. So I think that is also something that I would recommend. And then in the end, I think finally is just having a blunt conversation with them. It's just saying that, hey, you know what, this is where I am right now. I need your help to get to here. This is how I plan on doing it, and this is where I want. Again, this is where I want your help. And this is why I need your money also. And then coming to how I'm leveraging it right now in all sorts of ways, right? Like I mentioned, so we have mentors and we have advisors also. So our advisors, we're a part of Oracle for Startups. We have a mentor from Oracle for Startups as well. We have a mentor who's an investment banker, a partner at R Ventures. We have an advisor who's an ex-CEO of Kodak IT, current head of marketing at Spotify Southeast Asia, head of innovation and excellence at SAP, right from Toronto. So all of these guys are leveraging in different ways. So again, I think the most important thing is actually studying their experience, not just their LinkedIn, right? Getting into the LinkedIn and talking to them about their experience, talking to them about how they think that they can help. Before you tell them that, hey, this is where I need your help, you ask them, where do you think that you can help us? And then you tell them that, okay, this is where I want your help, right? And for both ways across. And right now, what we're doing with each of them is help. So they help us in putting together strategy for go-to-market, for pricing, for raising funds. Some of them help us in raising funds again, and then also customer acquisition, and then obviously brainstorming.
Got it.
Can I ask a question, Ankur? Here?
Yeah.
Okay. So just give us a sense, basically, to me, and I think everybody like who will be watching this show, that in last say 2 years, okay, let's forget about basically last 7-8 years of your journey, but let's talk about the immediate last 2 years. How many times you have actually changed or improvised your idea?
Oh, 2 years. I haven't been working on Moshak for the last 2 years. So let's say for the last year, would say about 4 times at least, 3 major pivots. and multiple iterations. And this is again, I believe in what Amazon is doing is right in this case. Both Amazon's and Apple's ideologies are contradictory, but they get both on the point. Amazon says that customers are primary. Talk to customers, talk to customers, talk to customers. They do a lot of betas. I think that is very important from day one. And Apple also, they don't talk to a lot of customers, but they have a close private beta group that they trust, and then they talk to just them. So I think we follow both, and I try to follow both ideologies. Is talking to a lot of customers, and then some sensitive information, talking to just a few, and bouncing off the ideas from a customer perspective.
Yeah, so that's exactly the point that I wanted to make, Ankur. If you can sense this, that in last 2 years he has done 4 major pivots on his own idea. Okay, if you ask him whether he would like to invest even 10,000 rupees in his first idea, I think he will himself will not invest. Okay, so that's the whole point. People expect strangers to come and invest in your idea, which you have created actually without putting blood and sweat in that. You have created it absolutely on assumption, and then you are expecting somebody to invest their hard-earned money. It's very, very, I think, wrong expectation actually setting. So I think the whole process of actually building a company starts with a wrong note, and that is the reason. That's exactly what I wanted to basically get it in front through him, that he himself has in last 2 years has pivoted 4 times, and I think he's still not there in his own expectations. He's not nowhere near a commercialized MPV right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, go on, Rishabh, please.
No. I just wanted to correct the last part. We're very close to the commercialized MVP.
Okay.
Is that just the one last part that I wanted to
understood. So I'm saying, see, this is how it is. Okay, you are not even created a final version of your product. Okay, and you still need to take that out to the market. Okay, that will be your first beta actually.
Correct.
Okay, when you will take it. So I think so this journey up. The chances are that the product that you have made, okay, and that you will be in the finishing touches, I think the chances of that product coming close to the customer expectation will be very, very high. And that is what investors also wants to see, that whether the founder actually was sitting on the idea, or whether he has actually doing something really great on it, okay, before he has taken it to the market. Okay, that is a piece that is a make or break actually in a deal. So yeah, that's what people are looking at.
Yeah.
No, it's like riding a cycle. You have to fall at least 3 times before you can do it right.
Yeah. But in the entrepreneurial journey, I'm 100% sure, and this I have learned from Rajan Nathan. He mentioned that I think he has invested in his personal money in more than 150 odd companies. He says that none of his personal investments or the companies in which he has invested are doing exactly the same thing when I have invested in them, because you will change, you will pivot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is where I think I can talk about the early stage investments. There, I think what we are looking at is more, we are putting money on the founding team rather than on the business idea, because business idea we know that it will going to change, okay, and whether this company or this team will able to absorb the shocks that they will get from the market and still come out winner. I think that is what you want to see.
Yeah.
Right.
So on this, Neeraj, I want to pick. There are a couple of questions which I want you to answer, and this is a tricky one. From a early stage investment space, how important is valuation? Well, there's no number, there's no customer. It's all in the head of either an entrepreneur or an investor, largely. But you have to agree to some number, and how much you dilute. Is there a yardstick? Is there a method? Or you have done so many deals. I just want to pick your brains on that.
Okay, so 2 parts basically of question. One is on the dilution, how much you want to dilute or you should dilute. I think there is a very mathematical and a proven basically a number to that. I think that that holds true for I think almost everyone, that before you reach to a VC stage, which is before the VC stage, you raise at least 3 rounds, friends and family, seed level, then probably a angel institutional round. Okay, so By the time you reach to the fourth one, the VC one, I think the founders should have at least like 70% plus equity in their hand. Ideally 75%, okay, minimum. So that means 20 to 21% is what you should look at as far as dilution is concerned. On a far side, I think keep it basically at the max 25%. That's it, because VC wants to come at a stage where they want to at least like want to invest 5 rounds, and every round, if the dilution is happening as far as founders equity is concerned, they want at the growth stage the founders still should have at least 25-30% of the company, otherwise the motivation will go. So from that standpoint, there is a very logical way to handle this part. Now the other part that you asked me about the valuation, I think there are like different theories, okay, and early stage, you know, and I know it very well, there is no financial history of the company, okay, so it's very difficult to kind of like stick to a kind of like a real scientific way to value a company that doesn't say work in an early stage. And when I say early stage, I'm talking about basically companies till 2 years, okay. Even if you have a 2 years financial data, I think it's very insufficient data actually to arrive to a valuation based on just on that data. So I think from my experience, I can talk about basically two ways to it. Okay, one, from the founder's point of view, I think you need to not look at valuation too much. Okay, you need to see the dilution, that you do not dilute the basically equity, okay, more than 25% in next like 3 rounds of raise. So I think you need to agree to a valuation which is giving you enough money to at least like first 2 years. So that is how you need to plan.
Your VC round.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you need to just quickly go there. Okay, so if that is the vision, this 25% that you are going to dilute. Now, whether the first set of investors will take more of it or the second or the third is something that you need to plan. But in your head, you are very clear, 25% I'm going to dilute in 3 rounds of, or maybe 2 rounds in some cases. So whether you become a beneficiary of it or I become a beneficiary of it, I think that is not how founders should look at it. Okay, I think they should look at it their own journey, there are benefits, rather than basically negotiating too much at times, because I've seen that founders become so fussy about the valuation thing that they lose out good people, okay, in the bargain. Okay, and I think that is more important. You need to win good people, okay, on your board, and do not look at the equity. Even if you are like giving say 5% equity extra to say 3-4 people who are very important that you feel is going to play a good role in your journey, I think it's better. I think so. My personal advice to all the founders, and that is what I tell them, that the way you have ESOP for your first employees or the crucial employees, similar way, just keep at least like 5 to 7% for the advisors. Okay, bring people like who will really like make a difference in your journey. If they can fast track your 3 years journey in 1.5 years, that's what you need. You need to just go to that level. So I think for them, they need to smartly use that 25%. That is how it has to be. Okay, now how you play with that equity that you are bargaining in a way to get the right people and right capital is what you need to look at, and that's it. I think forget about anything else. On the investor side, so this is a problem that we need to basically, we are fund managers, so I have to basically convince my guys also, okay, the investors. So like for example, this Saturday we opened 3 pitches. Okay, so
I was there.
you were there. Okay, so and this was a constant question for every deal, that investors were not able to understand that why they are valuing so high. Yeah, and I tell them, see, if your founder is able to convince 80% of the investors for a certain value, which other 20% are feeling that why this high, I think those 20% should feel good about it, that this guy is able to, at this stage of the company, if he's able to like convince 80% of the people for a certain value, now that guy is a selu for you. Yeah, he will go and like next round also, like he will probably like command the same. So I think valuation is something from the investor point of view. I always tell them that look at it like this, that if the person on which you are taking a bet, if he is able to command a certain value, a premium on which probably you are not agreeing, and most of the people are agreeing, I think put a money on that guy, because he is a great person who can sell like on a premium.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think you gave one very good framework, a larger framework. Don't worry about valuation. Just say in your first 3 rounds, you should have enough runway to hit your VC round by not diluting more than 25% is as a good framework which you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point. Uh, Rishabh, one of the last questions for you. Are you going to complete your education? Because you just started it. You have three more years. So how are you gonna?
I, yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think I am. And the reason is I made a promise. One of the bargaining chips, one the part of the negotiation for me to do Moshak was I complete my education. And since I've made a promise, since I've made a commitment as an entrepreneur, as a founder, for making commitment to my investors, and I'm going to keep, or and my shareholders and my customers, I think I owe that to the people that are closest to me, that I've made a promise to complete my education. So I do plan on completing my education. Obviously, it's that doing that is extremely interesting. Let's say interesting. Let's say interesting. There are extremely long nights to complete schoolwork, early mornings to attend some parts of school or examinations. So my typical day, I sleep at about 4 o'clock and I rise about at about, let's say, 8:39. Is how my day goes. But I think that's how every entrepreneur's day goes, right? And then it demands a lot. But I think my college, my school right now is being supportive to an extent which we can. We can't expect the school to be more supportive than this from an Indian standpoint. I think at this stage, like right to Neeraj's point, that maturity for schools has to come, and it's not there yet. But I think it'll come eventually. So I to keep it short, yes, I'm going to be completing my education. Doing a bit of negotiation with the school also to see what kind of a deal I can cut with the school in terms of attendance and schoolwork. But I think I'll continue with this road because
Uh,
it'll also teach me to balance things, and that's what it's done until now, is teaching me to
and
balance.
and you, I understand you are hiring people also. How easy?
Yeah,
How difficult? Uh, I saw a couple of posts on LinkedIn that you're hiring
yeah,
some
yeah,
engineers. I'm sure
yeah.
they must be coming at cost and they must be experienced than you. So how are you dealing with that?
Oh, I think that's one of the biggest pains of every startup, not just for a student-run startup, right? Is resourcing hiring the right talent. Uh, I, I I've done quite a few interviews with my co-founder, so I was able to actually convince my co-founder, Abhishek Saini, about a month ago, who has 13 plus years of experience. He's ex PayPal. He's currently with ST Engineering. He's going to be coming on board full time. Great experience, great guy. He's coming on board with Moshak. So we were doing a bunch of interviews, and we're just looking at each other after end of each interview. There are so many engineers in India. Why isn't there one that fits our bill? And why isn't there one that wants to actually develop and not just do for, let's say, cloud? We put up a cloud engineer post. Why does everybody run behind DevOps now? I mean, what is this mindset with for engineers now to run behind trends rather than doing something that adds value? So I think hiring is the most difficult. The problem is not comparing experience. The problem is more for me is sourcing the right guys. But we are coming close to it now. By the end of Jan, we should have a full time team, a team of about 5 people, including 5 people in the tech team, including Abhishek, and then 6, 7 people, including the whole Moshak team,
Great.
no full timers.
So, Neeraj, I think, and I'm sure you must also have realized during this COVID period, obviously there was a job crunch, there were, layoffs, but the one sector where people were hiring were largely the engineering teams. In our WhatsApp groups, in our startups, and as he's saying, I also realized with all of my startups, hiring a right talent is very difficult. Even if there's someone, I'm sure Amazons of the world would pay them, whatever these guys can pay them. So how to they don't have huge pockets to pay the great salaries. The value of ESOPs obviously I'm sure is not that great as of now. So how should young entrepreneurs hire a tech which is in demand?
Okay. So So let me just share basically what we have done for ourselves. Okay. And I think that is the basically theory that we really like believe in. I personally believe in. Okay. So I feel, see, community is the answer of all the problems. Okay. Especially for a startup. Okay. Because you are working on a limited resource. No matter what stage of the company you are, the kind of money that you need at that stage, you will not get that money. Okay. Most of the times. So, and that basically holds true for all kind of resources. It's not just capital, but human resource, the kind of talent that you want. I think that will always remain crunch. And that is why you need to really like create a community around your business. Okay. And
Yeah.
if you are able to do that, then most of your problem, because then you will attract basically the right set of people actually towards you as a person and the business that you are trying to put up. And this is what we have done. So this whole concept of We Founder Circle is actually founders backing founders. So my philosophy is that, okay, 10 years back, the people like who were the angels were the guys like who were the CXOs or the first like generation of internet companies, successful guys. The second set of like companies which were born, okay, was the people who were the first founding teams and employees of those companies. Like just from one Flipkart, there are like 800 startups that has come out from that company. Okay, similar is for all the like bigger companies, be it like PayPal or Tesla or so many basically other companies. So my belief was the next set of engineer or say the investors are the guys like who are already into the ecosystem in last 10 years. So if I reach out to those guys and tell them this, hey, you have struggled a lot in your initial journey, and now you all of you have reached to a level where you have competence, you have networking, you have knowledge, and you also have a capital which you can invest back. So why don't you just use your skill, networking, and capital into a young startup? Okay, and that's how this whole idea kind of like gelled very well with the founders. So I started this 2 years back as a concept internally in my own portfolio companies in Venture Catalyst. So we created a growth hack group, okay, and we asked the senior lot of founders whom we have funded say 2 years back and who have raised say multiple round of funding even after our round, to kind of like help us in evaluating the young deals that we are actually like looking to fund. So we tell them, why don't you come and just participate in the selection process? Because agar main, say for example, he is building something in robotics, I can always refer him to one company in my portfolio. Founders who are like so keen and passionate about robotics, where they may or may not be doing a business on that, but I can always find a person who can validate him well. So I think his validation is the biggest validation for me, because he is the founder. He can judge better, and at least like he can bring a different perspective, what probably a hardcore investor may not be thinking of.
Yeah.
So it started like that, and now that has become a biggest funnel of actually a seed fund for us. Now imagine if a founder is investing in a company, the rest of the investors gets so much of confidence. Kushang supply note ka, if he was mentoring this Grow Simple company for last 2 years from IIT Kanpur, they like both come from the same college, and he's leading his round right now. So if he's putting 10 lakh, the other guys will put 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs immediately, because they know Kushang is a success story. If he is like believing in this guy, so he must be good. So that's a networking effect that we are using right now just to build our community. And what started with a LinkedIn post 5 months back, what I written, I got 165 replies. Okay, Google form basically that people filled that yes, they want to invest, and they were all first timers. And then I got into a 1 hour basically a conversation, this kind of like mode with at least 100 of them. And then I asked my team also to do few interviews themselves, because I'm not able to do that. So the whole thing basically in last 5 months, we are able to create a community of 500 angels. 30%, more than 30% of them are basically from founding backgrounds. And together we are able to fund 8 companies. So 120 days, 500 angels funded 8 companies. And now we have a strength that every month we can fund 3 companies. So January we opened 3, and we pitched on Saturday, and today is just Tuesday. We have commitment for all 3, 100% commitment. Whatever they basically given us a bite, we are able to commit every one of them. So I think that is the power of community, which can solve, I think, unbelievable tasks. So I think that's where hiring is. I know it's a pain area, it's a big time problem, and if you make a wrong choice there, your whole journey will get impacted. So I think you need to be very precise in hiring the first 10, 15 people. I think that's the most important, I think, decision or a responsibility of a founder or a co-founders. I think that's where it is. So I understand the gravity of this, and that is why I'm saying I think community could be basically one of the way where you have like 5,000 fans and followers of yours, and some of them are coming from biggest of the companies. And I think if they really like you, they will leave their company and will join you. And the way they are supporting you anyway right now with their capital and knowledge, you will same way you will attract people.
No, I think you're making a great point. In fact, at Hostel Fund also, we reached out to our network via LinkedIn, via X companies, WhatsApp groups, and said, "Okay, hey, this is a asset class which no one is betting on, and I personally want to bet on is a student startup. How many of you are willing to invest in them? Because I'm not so sure whether they're going to invest, but we really have to work in that on that asset class. You will not believe in last 6 months since the time we are very, very operational, we have around 250 investors plus mentors from various who are saying, "Okay, I am ready to invest 10 to 20 lakh rupees over the next 6 months on the student startups," which no one is doing that. And I have my strengths only in one or two fields. I bring all these guys together and help me evaluate. That's the beauty. That's how I think that's how the world is gonna be.
No, I think on your thing, okay. So Ankur, I'm so glad you introduced me to this concept, okay. And I really love, because again, coming from a teacher's family, I know I so much love actually. I mean, being with say students and young teens and young people. Um, but see, on a serious note, while I'm talking to you and listening to your thoughts, I'm thinking that I think you need to devise a new formula for investing. Actually, okay. In your case, the way we invest in safe notes,
Yeah.
where there is no valuation of the idea, okay, and it will be discovered at some point of stage, okay, and we are giving discount to the investors. I use the same safe note actually on a safe talent. Okay, so use a safe talent kind of investment approach where I will invest in Rishabh and not in his idea. So I'll say, whatever you will do, you give me 30% discount on whatever idea you are going to do. So today you are in engineering, okay? Say you asked him a question that, see, whether you will finish your studies or not. We all want him to finish his studies, because what he can do with another like 6 7 years of like really like a hardcore higher studies at various levels, I think what he can do and what he can achieve is great. So I think, me as an investor, if you ask me, I will say that whatever he's doing right now, I will invest money in that also, but I want a safe note
So
kind of in his talent, that he needs to basically give me a 30% discount for whatever company he will build in next like 10 years. I am game. So I will invest on.
and you are right. I think now you have validated my
Great point.
my hypothesis. I have in fact put on Twitter a month ago. I said, why do not we have a stock platform for individuals
Yes.
where I put myself on that platform, I do something, my value goes up, something like that. And I said, among all the startup founders, whom should I want to put my money on? I asked that question. I said, I will put my money on Kunal Bhai because I really love him,
Yeah.
But I think you're giving me an idea, at least some sleepless nights for the next couple of weeks.
No, I will be more than happy to kind of like contribute to this in whatever form. But I think this is a great way if we can pick up talent, and what we are investing in not ideas, we are investing in talent. I think if we can find a route to it, I think people will be more than happy to
Yeah.
value our value.
And in fact, I was just before you joined on the call, this is what I was telling Rishabh, ke, hey, Rishabh, this is not going to be your first company, or this is not going to be your last
Last.
company. You will be building many companies because you just started. So you're right. If I tell him, ke, hey, man, I love you, but I love you more if I get my money back and keep on getting my not the money per se money, but the value and the network which we
True.
built together for the next 15 years.
Yeah. So I'm saying, so here is an idea, okay, to you, and I mean, we can work out this at some stage, okay. But I really want to do this now that I'm hearing you more. So I think it's a concept of a talent fund.
Yeah.
So it's a talent fund. We are investing, we are valuing talent. So every time, like, we are presenting a pitch, so instead of pitch, we will present personality. We will present talent. That these are the guys. You come and invest in this talent for next 15 years. Whatever he will do, you will get some basically percentage of that. That basically.
I don't mind being a beta on this.
You are the guy.
On this fund.
We already bought you. Great.
I know one competition also. It's called Thiel Foundation by Peter Thiel. That does something similar for startups.
Yeah.
But the only catch with Thiel Foundation is that they don't allow them to continue their college education.
Yes. Ritesh Kapoor, Oyo is one of their products from Thiel Foundation. So great. I think we just last question to you, Rishabh, before I finish off with Neeraj. So what's your plan for next 12 months?
Next 12 months. Okay, that's a great question. So we have a lot in plan. We have our plates full. We've just, we're closing the current round that we're doing, friends and family. When I mean closing, we're just finishing up the legal, which is, again, there's a lot to learn from legal, a lot to learn from a compliance perspective. Wow. And then we're doing a next round, which is in February, which is our pre-seed round. We're going to be doing another round in July, which is our seed round. And we have these two rounds defined because we are with the accelerator program, which is Athom Venture Partners, which is based out of Singapore. So they've defined these two rounds for us, and we know that we're going to raise at these two separate rounds. But we are building our MVP too. At the same time, we're talking to a lot of customers. We've gotten LOIs from about 8 to 10 customers. We are going to be exploring more customers. We're trying to get more LOIs for our beta on the MVP2 that we're building. We're going to launch our MVP2 and our beta about Q2 first half, and then our product in the Q2 second half is when we'll actually launch our commercial product. I'm saying Q2 second half, but we know that in practicality it'll extend into Q3. And then that's when we'll actually start generating revenue. We're also doing a lot of partnerships. So with what we're building, we're a bridge. We're essentially a bridge for customers and cloud service providers, and we're a mediator. So we don't only recommend tier 1 players like AWS, GCP, Azure, but we also recommend tier 2 players like ESDS, Control S, Cloud Sigma. And we give them a chance to have a share in the market. If we look at the market share right now, the tier 1 players have most of the market by a long shot, especially AWS and Azure coming from the back. But then these tier 2 players don't really have a lot except localized. So what we're practically doing is we're positioning the tier 2 players against the tier 1 players. So we are great partners for the tier 2 players. We are strategic partners for the tier 2 players. So we'll have all of these partnerships going on. We're also going to be partnering with MSPs, SIs, and they'll be using us as a tool. They'll be using us to develop their softwares or for their customers. Direct sales, we're looking only for enterprise levels, but we're looking at MSMEs through ISVs also. So but we're a big value add to ISVs, right? So suppose an ISV selling a software for $1,000, a license for $1,000. They will sell us as an add-on for $100, $200. And they're basically selling us as a value added to their value proposition, because using our product, they'll be able to get their customers cloud infrastructure cost almost 40, 50 times lower, 60 times lower, which helps them to sell this $1,000 product. So we are a value add to the customers directly and the ISVs, which is why we partner with ISVs. We're already talking to one of the ISVs. We're talking to ESDS for partnerships also. So this is what we planned out again for 2021, launching the MVP, getting product market fit, getting customers, getting partnerships, revenue. We don't believe in the hockey stick sort of a revenue model. There will be acceleration, but it wouldn't be a hockey stick kind of an acceleration. And towards the end of 2021 is when we'll start making some real revenue. But the first half is going to go into product market fit, talking to customers, getting feedback, partnerships, and whatnot.
I think you really have it planned, and as you said, maybe your plates will be overflowing, not full.
Yeah.
It already is.
So and I was afraid that if you ask us the same question, Rishabh, both of us will not have answer of next 12 weeks also.
Great, great. So
Yeah,
obviously, my wish, we are working very closely, Rishabh. So my best wishes to
of
you.
course.
Uh, Neeraj, what's your plan for you're doing this founder circle, we founder circle, and I've seen a lot of PR press clips that you're going to invest. I think $8-9 million over next so many quarters. So
Yeah.
what's your plan? How are you sourcing these deals? Is there any mandate for you guys, or you're just betting on the great founders and team?
So it's like this, that we never thought we will basically reach to this level so fast. But I think that has given us a confidence that when we were planning for this complete calendar year in December, so I think post 15th of December, we were not doing any deals. So we closed the November last was the last pitch basically that we organized. And by 15th of December, we finished every basically mandate for that. So we had basically good 15 days to kind of like reflect back on what we have done in last like 5 months or so. And based on that, like if we can put some ambitious targets for us, I think so next 12 months, the idea is one to on one level we want to do at least like 3 deals a month, so that takes us to 36. So and we are just keeping ourselves for 40s or 100 off at 40 deals. Okay, so that's the first milestone that we want to touch. Second is obviously I think what we are able to do in last 5 months is also bring a lot of like international founders, I mean the global successful founders attention to this whole concept. Okay, and they're finding it in terms of like the basic fundamental concept of this whole community really like close to their heart also. Okay, I think so from that standpoint, like what we are doing is very carefully we are mapping deals directly to the founder and not to the VCs. So in Silicon Valley, in Europe, in Israel, in China, Southeast Asia. So what we are doing that if I find like I just heard his story, okay, and if we really like believe in his story and we really like him as a founder, what we are doing is we are taking that person directly to the to somebody like really successful in that field in some other world. Okay, like for example, from this pitch itself. So Saturday we showcased these guys. Sunday I was just making basically I just tweeted okay to few people, okay, and some of them responded. So one of the hottest basically company in last 1 year in Silicon Valley is a company called Fast. I think you must have noticed that.
Yeah.
So that guy, the founder of that, is an Australian who is shifted to Silicon Valley now. Now that guy immediately was so interested in this just by sending him a small message. I just sent him a small message that this is the company. They have this vision of one day delivery across India. And this guy just 2 years basically passed out the whole founders from India's premier institute and have handled like 6 lakhs packages a shipment in a month. Just these small intro, and he immediately got interested in this, and I have connected these guys. Now that is the kind of like impact which is otherwise is not possible in a venture world. I mean, you need to follow, you go and pitch to the analysts will like have their own versions of actually like evaluating a deal and things like that. So we are cutting across basically that model. We are directly like banking on this power of actually like getting an access to the founder. And if that guy is really like interested in the deal, then probably he himself either will bring capital and knowledge, or like he is in a position where he can kind of like recommend us or that basically founder to the right set of investors who will not take time, because on just his recommendation the money will come. So again, basically the founders capital or the founders basically network is what we are banking on. I think we have made a very good network already across these startup capitals, because I've been like handling the global operations of venture capital. So all their outside India, be it Dubai, be it Hong Kong, Singapore, or London. So I kind of led that. So I in last 2.5 years, 3 years time, I made some connections, and I think we are leveraging all of that. And that's the second basically ambitious target, that at least bring in 20 or say 25 basically in global founders to come and invest in the companies that we are showcasing. And in return, basically, we also want to invest back in those. So out of these 40 deals, we have kept a minimum, basically a target of at least like 6 global deals that we will be funding. We may be a smallest check in the entire like fundraise, but we want to be there. that we just want to show that out of the like 40 deals or 30 deals, whatever we end up doing this year, 5 to 6 deals we want to fund global deals, and at least like 15-20 founders we want to invest in Indian companies. So that's the broadly the 12 months agenda.
No, I'm sure. I'm seeing the pitches also, and I wish you a great success. Would love to join hands both ways. So it's lovely talking to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All the
Ankur.
best, Shabya.